Today, we're building a bridge. Not just any bridge, though. We're building a digital one that leads to, well, the most complex and mysterious place in the entire universe, the human brain.
And this quote right here, this is the key to everything we're talking about today. Just think about that for a second. Inside your head is this bustling metropolis of thoughts, ideas, and intentions, all of that incredible energy, all that activity. But it's totally isolated. It's locked inside your skull with no direct way out.
So let's really lean into this metaphor. This city, your brain, it has power plants, it has neighborhoods, it has traffic. It's all happening in the form of neural activity. But to actually interact with the outside world, it has to rely on this really old, kind of clunky infrastructure. Your hands, your voice, your physical body.
So the city itself is plenty powerful, right? The problem isn't a lack of energy. The problem is that it can't directly plug into the digital world that we've all built around us. I mean, the speed of your thoughts is just immense, but the speed you can get them out by typing on a keyboard or by speaking, it's a tiny, tiny fraction of that. It's a bottleneck. It's a connection problem.
Okay, so how do you build a highway out of this isolated city? Well, the answer is a piece of technology that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's rapidly becoming science fact. And that is the brain-computer interface, or BCI. This is our digital bridge.
Now, what's really fascinating here is what a BCI doesn't do. It's not some kind of mind reader. It's not decoding your abstract thoughts or your deepest secrets. No, what it does is it listens to the electrical noise that's generated by your specific intentions, like, say, the intention to move your hand, and it translates that specific signal into a digital command.
Okay, so how does this whole thing actually work? Well, the entire process really boils down to two fundamental steps. First, you have to actually get the signal from the brain. That's step one. And then step two, you have to figure out what in the world that signal actually means. So step one, signal acquisition. It's all about listening. You can think of these tiny ultrasensitive electrodes as microphones. They're placed near the neurons to pick up that really faint electrical chatter that happens when your brain cells fire off. And all that chatter, it's made of something called an action potential. This is the fundamental unit of communication in your brain. It's just a tiny spark of electricity. In our city metaphor, these are all the individual car horns, the conversations on the street, the power surges happening all over the place. It's this absolute cacophony of electrical noise. So if your brain is this incredibly noisy city, how on earth do you find the one signal that you're actually looking for? Well, that's where step two comes in, and it's all powered by AI. You have these really sophisticated algorithms that are trained to sift through all of that background noise just to find one specific, coherent pattern, the command. Here's the crucial part, being able to tell the difference between static and a command. The static, that's just the brain's baseline activity. It's always on, always humming in the background. But a command, like the clear intention to move a cursor to the left, that creates a very distinct, repeatable pattern of neurons firing. The AI just learns to recognize that specific signature, and when it hears it, boom, it executes the command. Now, this isn't just theory anymore. This is happening right now. So let's look at the companies that are actually building these bridges as we speak in 2026. You've got two major pioneers who are really leading the charge, but they're doing it with very, very different philosophies. And this table perfectly illustrates those two philosophies. On one hand, you've got Neuralink. They're taking a highly invasive approach. This means actual brain surgery to implant a device with thousands of tiny little electrodes directly into the brain tissue. The benefit? You get a super clear, high-fidelity signal. But then on the other hand, you have Synchron, and they're pioneering a much less invasive method. They guide their device, called a stentrode, up through a blood vessel into the brain where it sits near the motor cortex. It's a less risky procedure, for sure, but the signal isn't quite as direct. So you have two totally different paths to the exact same goal, and honestly, both are making incredible progress. So, if that's where we are today, where are these digital bridges actually leading us? What happens when they evolve from these simple dirt paths into multi-lane superhighways? Well, the journey starts with therapy, but you know what? It moves into the realm of human augmentation really, really quickly. The immediate, and you could argue the most important application, is medical.
For patients who are paralyzed from conditions like ALS or from spinal cord injuries, BCIs offer a way to reconnect with the world. I mean, to control a computer, a prosthetic limb, even a wheelchair, just by thinking about it. It's about restoring autonomy, restoring communication. It's a huge deal. But once the technology is really perfected for that therapeutic use, that's when the era of augmentation really begins. Now, we're not talking about mind reading, but about high bandwidth communication. Imagine trying to convey a really complex engineering design to a colleague, or maybe the feeling of a beautiful sunset to a loved one, not through clumsy words, but directly, concept to concept. That is the promise of synthetic telepathy. And from there, it just gets even wilder. Think about entertainment. Gaming. Instead of using a controller, you become the controller. Your intentions directly manipulate the game world, creating this incredibly immersive experience that is quite literally impossible for us to even imagine today.
So, this incredible, rapid acceleration brings us to a final and pretty profound question. You know, building a bridge out of the city of the mind is one thing, but what happens when that bridge becomes a seamless, high-speed, two-way data connection?
And this is really the ultimate question we're left with, isn't it? As we start to merge the biological processing of our brains with the digital processing of our machines, that line between them it starts to get blurry. It's a future that's both exhilarating and maybe a little unsettling. And it's a future that we are all building one connection at a time. The question really isn't if we'll build this bridge anymore, but what kind of world we're going to find waiting for us on the other side.